We want to make sure that today's presentation is extremely valuable for you, so we ask that you submit all questions by clicking on the question button in the control panel and typing your questions. Your questions will only be visible to me. I will collect all submitted questions and we will do a Q&A with Marvin at the end of this presentation. Now for the main event. I would like to introduce Marvin Montgomery. For more than 30 years, Marvin Montgomery has earned widespread national recognition and praise for his informative, practical, and stimulating programs that reflect his basic psychology. Preparation and practice are keys to sales success. Marvin began his career at one of the nation's largest jewelry chains and worked his way to the director of sales position. It was here that Marvin began refining his approach and training. In total, he trained more than 1,200 associates at 95 stores during his time with the organization. If you enjoyed this webinar, Marvin, along with Hal Becker, will be presenting a sales event in September. We are still working on the final details of that, but I will send you all the details once we get those confirmed. And he will be presenting that in September. So it's a day-long session, and that would be extremely informative for all you to attend. So without further ado, I am going to change it over to Marvin, and he will be able to start his presentation.
Thank you, Adina. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for making time. Not taking time, but thank you for making time, to join me this morning to talk about how to sell value and not price. And I just want to make one thing clear right up front. The value really comes from you, not necessarily your company, because you've all heard the expression, people buy from people who they know, like, and trust. Know, like, and trust. And what we'll be talking about is how do you build that trust into your communication, so when it comes time to talk about your product or service, you don't have to sell the price, but you've already started beginning to build the value into the communication that you're providing. So because we all know there's people we know that we don't like, or there's people we know and like but we don't trust, but when you have that know, like, and trust, you can influence them all the way through your communication, and price doesn't become an issue at the end. So I prepared some very easy to follow topics that I'll walk you through, and as Adina said, please feel free to jot down your questions as we go through this, and then I'll be prepared to respond to them once we conclude. First and foremost, and these are just in some steps, and step one is to first and foremost determine what your pricing strategy is. And the reason why I talk about this first is, and not to go into a lot of detail as far as how you should determine your price, but I'm talking about what your pricing strategy is. And I found that there's really two. There's the first strategy I've seen is let's make a deal. In other words, you've already put a cushion into your price, knowing that you're going to be prepared to negotiate as you go through the process. The second strategy, which is really what I prefer, is you put the best price on it first, and you're very confident with that pricing strategy that you have, and you're prepared to stick with it all the way through the process. And as a matter of fact, we'll talk a little bit about that today, that you're already prepared with options and alternatives, or you're already prepared with what may qualify them for an adjustment, because if you're determining your pricing strategy the right way the first time in, you're not thinking discounting. You're thinking about, I'm already providing you with the best value for the price that I've quoted. And that's your mindset. Your mindset is going in that you're already getting the best value for your price. As a matter of fact, maybe even somewhere during the conversation you say, hey, look, our company does not mark it up to mark it down. We don't play the games with your pricing. We respect you as a buyer, and we're not going to insult you by saying it's this price, and then all of a sudden we're negotiating down, from there. So this is not let's make a deal. The pricing has already been value priced to fit the product or the service that we're providing. So you want to determine what position that you have. What's your position? And but I do like the latter position of let's put the best pricing on it first. This is really an area where that has given the sales profession a bad image. because they look at us as being overpriced. They look at us as all we're looking for is to get their money, and we're on to the next victim, so to speak. But your pricing strategy, if you do it right, that begins adding value even before you get in front of the customer, because as the salesperson, you're already comfortable, you're already confident. You know that the price that you're going to be quoting is not only fair, but it's firm. And you're prepared to overcome any kind of resistance that they may have. But even more important, you're prepared to start selling value right in the beginning, because you're very confident that price is not going to be any issue, because it's already value price. So step one, determine your pricing strategy, and hopefully it's the latter of not let's make a deal, but the pricing that you're getting, the pricing that's going to be quoted is definitely the best pricing for the service or the product that's going to be provided. Step two, you win from within. There's a mindset that's extremely important that you have to have, and I love the approach that Nike took a while back, and they said you do win from within. The way I approach that particular statement is your outlook will affect your outcome. Your outlook will affect your outcome. In other words, if your outlook right in the onset is, boy, I hope they don't mention anything about price. Oh, I mean, I'm going to have to discount this 5, 10, 20%. Well, that's going to be the outcome. Your outcome will be, I'm going to have to discount. I'm going to have to reduce the price that I quoted. But if you've got a positive outlook, you know, like I've already said, the pricing strategy is correct, and there's no doubt in my mind that the price that I quoted you is not only fair, but it's firm. So I talk about 3 selfies that you have to make that possible. And you're going to take a little picture of yourself. We've all, seen someone, or maybe you've done it yourself, when you've taken your camera and you put it in front of your phone and put it on the camera mode and taken a picture of yourself or of a group. But we're going to take a little different selfie here today. And there's 3 selfies that you have to be comfortable with selling value in that price. First and foremost, you have to be self-confident. And the self-confidence means that I know that the price that I quoted is fair. I mean, you believe it without a doubt in your mind, and you're willing to back it up by overcoming any resistance that they have with it. But if you don't have that self-confidence, because see, I can't give you that. That has to come from within. You have to know it's the best product, you have to know it's the best pricing, and you have to know it's value-packed. But that self-confidence has to come from within. So when they look at you and say to you, is this the best price? If you have that self-confidence, you're able to come back and say, oh, absolutely. Or if they say, can you do a little better on the price? That self-confidence is going to kick in. You're going to go, you know what, man? I already have. Sir, you already have given the best price. Let's go ahead and move forward with this product or service right now. So self-confidence. How's your self-confidence? Do you have that belief within? Because you do win from within. A second self that's important is self-discipline. To have the discipline, not to panic, to have the discipline, to do what you're supposed to do, and hold firm to the price that's been quoted. Because I'll tell you, without that discipline, it's very easy sometimes to go into panic mode, which leads you into that third self, which is self-control. Boy, you got to have self-control. You cannot panic when they say to you, boy, your price is too high, because there's something that rises up in us, because the fear of losing the sale is really strong. So what can happen is, if that fear of losing the sale, in other words, you're not playing to win, you're playing not to lose. So without having that self-control, you will say something or do something that's totally inappropriate, which gives them the impression that you're going to give them something off on that particular pricing. So step 2, you win from within. Watch that self-confidence, watch that self-discipline, but more important, watch that self-control. Exercise some self-control. Don't put yourself in a position where you panic and very quickly open up your mouth, and now they're ready to negotiate. They know it's negotiation time, because that self-confidence also is a show and tell. They can tell by what you say, or they can tell by how you look when you're saying it, whether or not you really believe in what you just said to them as far as the pricing you just quoted. So self-confidence, having those self-disciplines, but also having that self-control to suppress that natural instinct of that fear that may rise up in you. that willingness to really want to give up and give in and start negotiating, boy, suppress that instinct with that self-control. So that's step two. You do win from within because your outlook will definitely impact your outcome. Step three, discuss budget during the needs analysis. In other words, another way to have that self-control, another way to be able to see if this is going to be a situation that may lead to some justifying of the price that you're going to be quoting at the end, is part of your assessment is asking them where they like to be at as far as their financial investment for your product or service. And that's exactly what I do. When I'm talking about the needs analysis, one of your needs to know is what they're looking to invest, not spend. And you'll hear me say certain key words during this webinar, because I don't use the word spend, I don't use the word cost, I don't use the word pay. I use the word investment because the word investment will paint a picture of them getting return on that investment they're making with you. So discuss that budget during the needs analysis. Not anywhere up front, not anywhere in the end, but during that needs analysis, we need to talk about money. You can't be afraid to talk about money. So, and there's a couple different ways that I've kind of already alluded to. Just ask them. And if they don't ask, if they won't tell you when you ask, then you got to throw something out there. I remember Sam Frank teaching me that back, and that was back in the 60s, late 60s. He would say, you know, Marvin, when somebody comes in here, if they won't give you a price, then you have to throw one out there, okay? Because you don't want to wait to the very end of the sale to find out the price may be an issue. You've got to have that discussion, you know, during that needs analysis. So, because I always tell people the needs analysis is the core of that discussion. Because remember, you're there basically to find out if there's a need for the services that you provide. You're not there to give your product away. Anybody can do that. Matter of fact, I could come into the companies that are represented on this webinar and do let's make a deal and keep dropping the price until the customer says, okay, I'll take it at that price. There's no skill involved in that. The skill comes in when you ask that customer doing that needs analysis, Mr. Customer, before we go too much further, have you given any thought to where you'd like to be at as far as an investment in this particular product or service? And then you can couch that question with, and the reason why I'm asking. And the reason why I'm asking is I want to make sure that when we prepare this solution for you, by the way, not quote, not proposal, but when we prepare this solution for you, it's going to be able to stay within the confines of the budget that you have established for yourself. Oh, you don't have a budget? Well, based on what you shared with me so up to this point, I can tell you right now that you're probably looking at blank. Or, well, let me ask you a few more questions because the answers to these questions are going to be able to let me know an approximate amount of what your investment's going to be here today. Why would you wait to deliver that solution to find out that money's an issue? I don't want to wait to find out that money's an issue. I want to talk about it when I'm in control. Remember, self-control, but also putting yourself in control of when these things are discussed. So step three, discuss budget during the needs analysis. I tell people all the time, this is not a show up and throw up. This is not a time for you to do an information dump. This is a time for you to do a needs analysis. And part of that needs analysis, you have to talk about money. You cannot have any fear there. Remember, that other selfie is self-confidence. I'm very confident that the price I'm quoting you is fair. So let's make sure that this is going to be within the budget that you established. I'm sure you found out at the back end that this is not your customer from a budgetary standpoint. Look, everybody's not going to be your customer, and one of the ways you're going to find that out is talk about money, because it's not you. It's just the fact that at this point in time they don't want to make that investment, and that's fine, because my belief is either yes or not now. So step three, discuss budget during the needs analysis. Step four, isolate the reason for price concern. So in other words, what we're talking about here is, even though you did a great job discussing budget during the needs analysis, they still may challenge you with a vague statement, by the way, somewhere in that solution delivery, or maybe before you even get to that point. They're going to say to you, wow, your pricing is kind of high, Or wow, is that your best price? Or wow, you guys have a reputation of having a high price. Well, you want to find out why they're saying what you're saying. Remember, you already have that self-confidence, so you know that if they say to you, your price is too high, you know it's not that your price is too high. So you want to find out what's behind the statement that you made. Anybody on the phone that may have, this webinar, that may have heard me do some training just in this particular area, you know that people seldom identify all their needs directly. They're just going to make a blanket statement. Just like me saying right now, I don't feel well. Well, that's a blanket statement. What does that mean? You don't know what that means until you what? You're going to do one of three things, because if you're going to isolate the reason for the price concern, it's no different than isolating the reason for me saying, I don't feel well, my health concern. I got a health concern. I don't feel well. I got a price concern. Your price is too high. Well, what do you mean by that concern? I need some more information. You got to peel back the onion. You got to drill down on that situation. There's three ways to do that. You want to isolate it by either asking a question, paraphrasing back, or my favorite, which I actually use first, is just being silent. So the customer says to you, whether it's on the phone or face-to-face, wow, Marvin, your prices are kind of high. I may just be silent for a couple seconds to see if they're finished with their thought, because some people will talk out loud. They haven't finished their thought yet. There's a saying about asking and listening. And Stephen Covey talks about it in his 7 Habits of Effective People. He says, seek first understanding before being understood. So I need to understand what you mean by what you just said. Your price is too high. What do you mean by that? So I'm going to be silent first. So they say, boy, your price is too high. Well, because, you know, Marvin, what I've been paying in the past, or it wasn't within my budget, or I'm comparing with another quote, or that's more than I expected to spend. I mean, which one is it? I don't know which one it is until I be silent first, because you may continue to talk. Okay? You may go on and say, but you know what? Even though the price is kind of high, based on what you said, this is going to be a good solution for me. Let's go ahead and move forward. And all you did was use silence. I tell people all the time, let silence be your friend. Awkward silence is powerful if you use it to your advantage. So the next time somebody says to you, boy, your price is too high, don't feel like you got to react real quick with a response. Be silent for a second. They may go on to close themselves if you give them an opportunity. Now, don't sit there forever, because if silence is not working for you, then you want to move to the second option, which is ask a question. How come you feel the price is too high? And then be quiet. Again, remember, you ask a question and then be silent. Ask a question, be silent. Because again, you're looking for what? Clarification. Looking for clarification. Or if you think asking a question is too direct, then paraphrase it back and then be silent. So you feel the price is too high. And then be silent. Because the silence is their signal to clarify what they mean by what they just said, because I need to isolate what's really going on. Are they just testing me to see if I'll drop the price? Are they comparing me to a competitor? Or are they comparing me to a price I got in the past? Are they comparing me because they just can't afford it? What's the reason for that statement? And you can do that if you're confident that the price you quoted is fair. Remember your pricing strategy? I priced this. In other words, I value price my product. I value price my service. So I know the price I quoted is fair and it's firm. So there's got to be another reason why you're saying my price is too high. There's got to be another reason why you're saying, boy, can you do a little better on the price? And see, some of the things, you don't have to use those 3 options. If they say to me, boy, can you do a little better on the price? Look, I already have. Let's go ahead and move forward. Can you do a little better on the price? No, I already have. Or, is this your best price? Absolutely. Remember, less is more. But something that I really am a prodigy of, you need to use preparation and practice here. You got to practice how they come at you with price, and then prepare with an answer using the strategies that I'm talking about. Does it require silence? Does it require repeating back? Or does it require a question? But one thing you don't want to do here is discount your price, because when you discount your price, you're discounting your credibility. You're discounting the trust. Everything you said leading up to them is out the window. All you did was validate what their fears were in the beginning, which was, oh, I'm so afraid I'm not going to get the best price. That's why they need to know the value is there. The value is there. So step 4, isolate the reason for the price concern. You know, why are they resisting? Why are they bringing this up? Even when you've identified that during the needs analysis, it still may come up. Step 5, I want to come back to something that we should be doing in the needs analysis, and that's identifying the pain. Because if you found pain during that needs analysis, they're not going to question you on the price, because all they're looking for now is your solution. What's the pain? And let me just spend a second here so you know the difference between the problem and the pain, because there is a difference. What I've learned is people can live with problems, but it's tough to live with pain, especially if the pain is severe. As a matter of fact, some people can live with a little pain or a little discomfort, but when it becomes real severe, all they want is a solution. So is the pain is the problem customer service? Is the problem delivery? Is the problem quality? Just to name some main ones. But that's the problem. You want to find out how the lack of customer service is affecting them. You want to find out how the poor quality is affecting them. You want to find out how the lack of delivery time is affecting their operation. So what I always ask is, very simply, well, how's that affecting you? So if you ask the question, if you could wave a magic wand, what are some of the things right now that have been troubling with you with your existing provider? Oh, well, I can tell you right now, we just had an incident where the delivery was 3 days late. Oh, 3 days late. How did that affect your operation? How did that affect you financially? Find out how that's affecting them, because now that's why I said you're delivering a solution. You're no longer delivering a proposal. You're no longer delivering a quote. You're delivering a solution. You're providing value. See, that's how, this is another area where you're providing value and not just pricing. Anybody can sell on price. I want to find out, are you experiencing any severe pain? Because if you are, boy, I got a solution for you. If you're not, then it's not now. You can't be afraid to find out. You know what? It's like going to the doctor. You're there for your annual exam. Isn't it nice, though, to find out sometime that you're okay? But if there is something wrong, if there is something causing some pain, then you're looking for the doctor to provide you with a solution to that pain. Well, you're the doctor. Just like I'm the sales doctor, you're the doctor with your product or service. How can I help you with my product or service? How can I alleviate some of the financial pain, some of the operational pain, some of the customer service pain, some of the delivery pain? The pain that you're experiencing right now, I want the value that I'm providing to provide a solution to that pain. So when you identify the pain and not just the problem, that also helps you sell value and not price. So now you're not just another price commodity. Now you're someone that's bringing a solution to the experience that they're having right now. So ask that question. How's that affecting you? How's that affecting you financially? How's that affecting you personally? How's that affecting your personnel? How? And then you document that, and you feed that back to them when it's time to close the sale. You know, based on this meeting here today, you shared 5 reasons why you should move forward with the product that I talked about. And then remind them of that pain, because the pain is what you're going to be providing a solution in. So identify not just the problem, but the pain that's coming from the problem that they're experiencing. Step 6, be prepared with options or alternatives. This should be something that you have sat down with your company and said, okay, when somebody says the price is too high, and I found out that it's really not the price, because we've talked about that, what are some of the options and alternatives that I can help them with so they can get my price at the price, so I don't have to worry about discounting my price. Give me an example. An option may be, you know what, we're going to change the scope here. I can't change the price, but I can change the scope. Okay? Or we'll take something out and we'll do it in stages. Or, you know what we can do? We can provide you with a credit company that can allow you to get it at the price. So, in other words, what we're talking about in step 6 I don't want to discount this because the price is already firm and fair. But I do have some programs and plans in place that can help you get this at the price we quoted. Or if I am going to make an adjustment on the price, we're going to have to look at some other options or alternatives to make some adjustments in what we initially quoted for you. In other words, what do I need to take out of this, maybe to bring it down to the price that you're looking to spend at this point in time. But one thing you don't want to do is talk about discounts. It's not about a discount. It's not about a discount. It's not about a discount. But there may be some options. I'll share an option with you real quick that I helped the company with just a couple weeks ago. I found out that it wasn't pricing. Remember, I believe it can't be my pricing, but what I did find out was it was with budget. So I said to them, because I've used this option before, and I asked them the question, are you aware of anybody else that would be willing to split this training opportunity with you? And what I mean by that, they would split the investment. You would pay half or they would pay half. And they said, oh, Marvin, great idea. I do have a company that I could partner with, and they would love to have their people attend that seminar and split the cost with me. So, hey, look, it was a win-win. They got the training. They saved some money. The other company got the training. They saved some money. But I didn't what? I didn't discount. But you have to have those options and alternatives in advance because what you want to do is, remember, you want to help them get it at the price that you quoted and not discount your price. So step 6, be prepared with options and alternatives. If I said to you right now, what options and alternatives do you have already in writing, already in your bag of, not tricks, but bag of options for this company so they can, this potential customer, so they can get it at the price that you quoted. So step 6, be prepared with options and alternatives. Step 7, present your value as a solution. Remember I said you're selling value and not price. So now that you've identified any kind of pain, any kind of concerns that they have, now you're providing a solution. So, hey, based on what you shared with me today, you identified 6 specific areas or 3 specific areas, things that you know that you've talked about. In other words, it's amazing what people will tell you if you just ask them. They'll give you the answers. So they've already given you the answers, so you're just going to feed it back to them. So present your value as a solution. So now you're not presenting a proposal. Now you're not giving a quote and hope. Now you're saying, I'm looking forward to bringing back a solution. So I actually call it it's a 3-step close that you're going to use. Here's what we discussed. Here's what we agreed on, and then trial close. What did we discuss? The pain. So you're going to start off with when you're bringing your solution back. Remember that value. Now you're bringing back a valued solution. So when we first met, you identified 3 specific areas, and go over those areas again. What I'm going to share with you in this document is the solution to those concerns. Then you're going to go through that document with them line item by line item. And then you're going to go, if you don't have any other questions, let's move forward. So here's what we discussed. Here's the solution, that's in that document, and then trial close. And you can't do that if you just mail the document out or if you just email the document out and then sit back and wait. You don't want to present this solution. People, you don't want to email the solution, because I see people email quotes, okay, email proposals, but you don't email a solution. You want to schedule a time that you can sit down with them, either on the phone or face-to-face, and go over the value that you're going to present to them. Otherwise, you're just like everybody else out there. Because they're going to say to you, okay, email that quote over, email that proposal over, and that gives you an opportunity right then to separate yourself from the pack. Remember, that's value there. Well, first of all, we don't send out quotes and we don't send out proposals. I'm going to prepare a customized solution for you, which means you and I are going to have to schedule a time, either on the phone or face-to-face, to sit down, and I want to go over this with you line item by line item. When's a good time to schedule that meeting? Present it as a value, not as a quote. Present it as a value, not as a proposal. Present it as a solution, not as one size fits all. That's step 7, because that's where you let them know that we're different than everybody else. We're not selling value. We're providing a value-packed solution for the concerns and pain that you shared with me. And see, this also helps you determine whether or not you have a yes or not now. So 7 steps on how to sell value and not price. 7 steps. So I want to thank you for that, but I also want to see if you have any questions or concerns at all. And let me go back real quick, just as a quick review, and then we'll open up for questions. Step 1, determine your pricing strategy. What's your strategy? Are you let's make a deal? Or is your strategy, hey guys, let's put the best price on it first. Let's make sure that the price we're quoting is the best price, because that's going to give me confidence. That's going to give me confidence. Remember, competence provides self-confidence. So do you feel comfortable with the pricing strategy that your company or you yourself have come up with? Because if you do, you won't have any problem. You won't even flinch when they look at you and say your price is too high, because you know it's not. There's no wiggle room in there. You didn't put it in there. You put the best price on there first. You did not mark it up to mark it down. Step 2 of 7, you win from within. Remember those 3 selfies? Self-control, self-discipline, self-confidence. They're all extremely important because you do win from within. And you definitely want to win from within when it comes to talking about pricing. Step 3, discuss budget during the needs analysis. We want to talk about it there. I don't want it to raise its ugly head up when I'm delivering your solution. Let's talk about it now while I'm in control. Step 4, if it does come up during the conversation, even after you've talked about it, isolate the real reason. Remember, people seldom identify the needs directly. They make a blanket statement. Boy, your pricing is too high. Can you do a little better on the price? Boy, go back and sharpen your pencil. Remember, you want to think in questions. You don't want to panic. I'm not going to come back with a solution. I want to find out why you feel the way you do. So I'm either going to ask a question and pause, repeat it back and pause, or start off with a pause called awkward silence. Use that awkward silence to your benefit. Step 5, identify not just the problem, but the pain that's coming from the problem. And the way you identify that is, how is that affecting you? How is that affecting you? And you do that during the needs analysis, because you're going to have to come back to that pain when it comes to providing that solution for them. So what's the pain? Not the problem, but what's the pain coming from the problem? How's that affecting them? Find price. If you can find financial pain, boy, then you know they're looking for that solution as soon as you can provide it. Step 6, be prepared with options and alternatives. What are the options? Remember, options and alternatives are not discounting. That's not an option. Do I provide some type of payment plan? Am I providing some way of sharing like I did? Or do I take something out of the scope of the solution I put in there? Okay. In other words, or how do I get that? Basically what we're talking about is, how do I get them to get it at the price I quoted? Or if I do change the price, it's not a discount, it's an adjustment. In other words, what justifies an adjustment? So you have to have those options and alternatives in place. So you don't give them, because you never want to give them the feeling that, oh my God, it's negotiation time. I did overprice this in the first place, so we do have some wiggle room. Well, there's your credibility. There's your trust. This is not let's make a deal here. They need to know that the price I quoted is firm and fair. And let me just say something else here. If you have enough activity, you're not afraid to walk away if the customer, for some reason or other, is not willing to go with the price that you quoted. But if you don't have a lot of activity and everything is hinging on this one customer, you will give it away. It will be let's make a deal, because you don't have a lot going on. So activity is extremely important to be able to hold firm with the price that you quoted and sell value. And last, step 6, present your value. Remember, it's not a proposal anymore. It's not a quote anymore. You're presenting the value as a solution. This is what we're going to fix for you. This is what we're going to solve for you. And you're going to walk them through it. It's called the callback close. When you call them back and meet with them, because remember you had that pre-scheduled appointment, here's what we talked about, here's what we agreed on, and then draw a close. And I'm telling you right now, their head will be bobbing like a LeBron James bobblehead doll, because they can't wait for you to come in and fix the pain that you've identified during that conversation. So 7 steps that I talk about when you want to be able to sell value, not price, and the value. And that, because my goal has always been to change the stigma that customers have of us. And the stigma is, boy, well, we're just there to get what we can get. Well, I'm not there to get what I can get. I'm here to see if there's a need for what I have. If there is, let's move forward. If there isn't, then it's not now, which is fine. But I want to make sure that the solution I'm providing is a customized solution and not just something that I'm just trying to sell the pricing of the product or service that I'm providing. So right now we're going to open it up for questions and see what you may have for me.
Well, Marvin, it looks like no one has any questions at this time. If you do have any questions, just a reminder to type them in the questions toolbar on your screen on the control panel, and then I could ask them to Marvin. If you don't have any questions and you want to email Marvin privately, his contact information is on the screen that you could see right now. But looks like, Marvin, there are no questions. Thank you for your time. And I asked you all if you'd like to join us. These webinars are monthly, and they're on the last Tuesday of every month. The next one will be on June 28th, and it's on business software trends. What tools would help your business grow? So thank you, Marvin, for your time today. And if you want to contact Marvin, you're more than welcome to contact him directly. All his information is on the screen above. If you did not capture that, then I would be able to send it to you if you shoot me over an email. Thank you all for your time today.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.